Consciousness. It's something we all experience, yet it's one of the biggest mysteries in science. From ancient philosophers to cutting-edge researchers, we've all tried to understand what it really is and how it works. Today, we're diving into the 10 most popular and mind-boggling theories that attempt to explain the elusive nature of consciousness. Some are well-established, others still on the fringes, but all offer a unique perspective on the mind. Whether you've heard of them or not, stick around as we take a journey through the realms of quantum mechanics, artificial intelligence, and even the very structure of your thoughts. Some of these theories are pretty wild, and trust me, you'll be surprised by where we end up. In the end, we'll reveal the number one theory, the one that might just be the key to unlocking the greatest mystery of all. So, let's start with theory number 10, and work our way toward that game-changing revelation. 10. Panpsychism. Why it's ranked last. Panpsychism is incredibly broad and difficult to test. The idea that everything has consciousness, from atoms to galaxies, sounds intriguing but lacks solid experimental evidence or a clear mechanism for how it works. It doesn't really explain how consciousness emerges in complex systems like humans, and it's hard to test because it's more of a philosophical stance than a scientific theory. Biggest weakness. It's a conceptual leap that doesn't offer much practical utility or direct understanding of how consciousness works in brains or machines. 9. Neural correlates of consciousness, NCC. Why it's ranked low. NCC is more of a measurement approach than a theory. It focuses on finding the brain structures and patterns that correspond to conscious experience, but it doesn't explain the mechanism behind why certain brain activities lead to consciousness. It's important in neuroscience, but it doesn't provide a comprehensive theory for what consciousness actually is. Biggest weakness. While it identifies where consciousness is in the brain, it doesn't address the why or how consciousness emerges from those neural activities. 8. Information processing theory. Why it's ranked here. While information processing sees the brain as a complex computer, it doesn't fully explain consciousness. It's mostly about how information is handled and organized within the brain, but it doesn't directly link that to subjective experience or awareness. It's functional, but not enough to explain why certain processes create consciousness. Biggest weakness. It explains the mechanics of the brain, but doesn't solve the hard problem. Why do we experience anything at all? 7. Higher order thought theory, HOT. Why it's ranked here. HOT is interesting in that it ties consciousness to meta-awareness, or the brain's ability to think about thinking. It explains some aspects of self-awareness, but it doesn't address how those thoughts or representations lead to a subjective experience of being conscious. Biggest weakness. It's focused on thinking about thinking, but doesn't fully explain why that thinking creates the feeling of being aware or conscious. There's also no clear testable mechanism to show how these thoughts arise from neural activity. 6. Orchestrated objective reduction, Orch-OR. Why it's ranked here. Orch-OR brings in the quantum mechanics perspective, suggesting that consciousness arises from quantum processes in the brain's microtubules. While it's a fascinating hypothesis, it's very speculative and not yet proven. Quantum consciousness is an exciting idea, but Orch-OR doesn't have sufficient empirical evidence to back up its claims, and it's hard to test. Biggest weakness. It's very complex and requires quantum mechanics to be involved in the brain at levels that have yet to be demonstrated. The theory hasn't really stood up to scrutiny in mainstream neuroscience. 5. Attention schema theory, AST. Why it's ranked here. AST brings a unique angle by suggesting that attention itself is a model our brain creates in order to focus on certain things. It explains how awareness of attention can create a form of consciousness, but it doesn't go deep into why this attention model leads to subjective experience. Still, it has some elegance in that it's grounded in real, testable cognitive processes. Biggest weakness. While it offers a novel and testable approach, it doesn't solve the hard problem of why we have subjective experiences. 4. Predictive processing theory. Why it's ranked here. Predictive processing suggests that consciousness comes from the brain's constant predictions of sensory input. It's a powerful framework for understanding how our brain anticipates the future, but it doesn't explain why these predictions give rise to conscious experiences. However, it's a solid and testable model that works well for sensory perception and some conscious states. Biggest weakness. It doesn't explain consciousness beyond the brain's predictive model. It's more of a framework for how the brain processes information, rather than a full explanation of consciousness. 3. Global Workspace Theory, GWT. Why it's ranked here. GWT is a solid and well-developed theory that explains how consciousness functions, like a broadcast system for information. It's widely accepted in cognitive science and has strong evidence from both neuroimaging and psychological experiments. It's a testable and practical model that fits well with how we experience the integration of information. Biggest weakness. While GWT is powerful in explaining the function of consciousness, it doesn't really solve the hard problem of why certain information feels like something, the subjective experience of consciousness. 2. Information Integration Theory, IIT. Why it's ranked here. IIT is an incredibly mathematical and elegant theory that quantifies consciousness based on information integration. It's a very robust theory in terms of measuring consciousness and has a lot of explanatory power for why some systems, like the brain, are more conscious than others. IIT is one of the few theories that directly connects consciousness with measurable phenomena. Biggest strength. It offers a testable, quantifiable measure of consciousness, phi, that can be applied to various systems, from simple organisms to complex machines. It's one of the most scientifically rigorous theories. Biggest weakness. It's abstract and hard to fully understand and apply in real-life scenarios outside of simple models. It's also not the easiest to translate into practical applications. 1. Relative Consciousness Theory, CRT. Why it's ranked number 1. CRT stands out because it tests the dynamic nature of consciousness in a measurable, scalable way. It combines aspects from IIT, GWT, and other theories while adding an important layer, entropy, to explain how consciousness evolves based on interaction and integration. By measuring awareness, self-awareness, integration, and entropy, CRT provides a dynamic, applicable, and testable model that works for humans, AI, and groups. Biggest strength. CRT doesn't just theorize about consciousness. It measures it in practical ways and scales across various systems, making it one of the most comprehensive and innovative theories out there. Biggest weakness. Still relatively new and needs more empirical validation across diverse systems. And there you have it, the 10 most intriguing theories of consciousness. But as we've seen today, there's one that stands out as not only revolutionary, but also measurable and scalable. Relative Consciousness Theory, CRT, offers a dynamic way of understanding the mind, from the smallest neurons to the most complex AI systems. It's a theory that doesn't just try to explain consciousness. It gives us a framework to measure and amplify it in ways that no other theory can. What sets CRT apart? It takes us beyond abstract philosophy and turns consciousness into something we can track, understand, and improve. And as technology advances, we may find that CRT unlocks new dimensions of human and AI collaboration we never imagined. The potential is endless. So what's next? Will we finally crack the code of consciousness, or are we still just scratching the surface? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, relative consciousness theory is leading the way in the search for answers. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this exploration of the mind and want to stay ahead of the curve, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. More deep dives into the mysteries of the universe are coming your way. Until next time, keep questioning and keep exploring.